My wife made me choose between a vasectomy or no sex. I chose no sex, and now she is mad. My wife and I have been married for 7 years and have a 3-year-old daughter. We both agreed that we only wanted one child, so we are good. She recently told me to get a vasectomy because we weren't going to have any kids anymore, and she wanted to stop taking birth control. She told me that her friend's husband got one and that they are having a good experience with it. I told her that I get that she wants to stop taking birth control, and I fully support her decision, but that I will never get a vasectomy, because I don't feel comfortable getting one, and I will not alter my body if it isn't necessary, and that I will never change my mind about this. I suggested that I can just wear a condom like I used to when we first started our relationship, so she doesn't need to take any form of birth control and we can continue our sex life. She basically got mad at me over this, and even told me that if I don't get a vasectomy, we will not have sex anymore. I made it clear again that I'm willing to wear a condom every time, so there isn't a problem. She told me that I'm either getting a vasectomy or we aren't having sex anymore. I like having sex, but I'm not some desperate loser who is going to beg for it and do something he doesn't want just for sex. So I told her that, I guess we aren't having sex anymore. This was 2 months ago. It's unfortunate that we aren't having sex anymore, but it is not like my life depends on it, so at the end of the day, I'm good. My wife, on the other hand, is not taking it so well. Couple of days she got mad at me for not wanting to have sex with her, and that I think my seed is more important than our sex life. She also said a bunch of other things to try and tell me to get a vasectomy. But just like before, I told her no, and I made it clear to her that I'm willing to wear a condom. Again, it is unfortunate that we aren't having sex, but at the end of the day, I'm good. I don't want this stupid fight to lead to anything more and want a healthy way to deal with this. How can I make it clear to my wife that she is making a big deal out of this for no reason? Something like this shouldn't be a big deal for us because we have gone through so much more. Update. Since the last time, a lot has changed. As a lot of you suggested, I started to communicate honestly and open with my wife about everything. We heard each other's concerns out and were able to understand each other better. This has already cleared up a lot of the tension we have been having over the past few months. We also had our first session of marriage counseling, and this cleared a lot of things for us up. Our counselor basically explained that when we both have sex, whether that is with protection or not, we must accept the fact that there will always be a risk of pregnancy, and if we want to eliminate this risk by undergoing a surgical procedure, that this is a personal matter we must decide for ourselves, and we can't push on our partner. This also cleared up a lot of the tension between my wife and I. We even started having sex again using a condom because we both felt comfortable with it, and it was great. We also discussed different options of contraception, and we are looking more into the use of copper IUD since this does not contain hormones and doesn't affect the act itself. But for now, we both feel comfortable using condoms and might just stick to it. My wife even said that she might be looking into tubal ligation, and I'll support any decision she decides to make. All in all, things seem to get better, and we will both keep working on our marriage. Comment. Wishing the wife the best of luck with seeking tubal ligation. The time and effort it takes to convince healthcare providers that you don't want children anymore can be a nightmare. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. My GF announced the end of our sex life. Since we started dating nearly a year ago, my 28M GF, 26F, has suffered from a dozen yeast infections and a lot of yeasty discharge. The cause is uncertain, but she believes these infections plus discharge is the result of getting an IUD. It's also possible that having raw sex is an aggravating factor. In any case, both of us have tried various antifungal meds, oral and topical, to no avail. My GF's theory is that when she gets wet, the yeast grows on the string of the IUD, which causes the infections plus discharge. This seems plausible to me, although I'm not a doctor, and I imagine it must be hell for her to deal with. Last night, she told me she had enough and was not going to have sex anymore. I asked her if that just meant no penetration, but she said no. She's going to abstain from all sexual activity, including masturbation, because it's too much trouble to get aroused and deal with the subsequent yeast problems, and she needs to keep the IUD to manage her PCOS symptoms. My dilemma is that I love my GF dearly and can envision spending the rest of my life with her. We have so many interests in common. We make each other laugh, we enjoy each other's company, and we care deeply for each other. But I have a very high sex drive and have never contemplated being in a sexless relationship before. I feel like a selfish asshole for thinking this at a time when my GF is not feeling well, but I don't see how our relationship can continue. How can I tell my GF about my needs without making it seem like I don't care about her suffering? Is there any saving this? Please note I am not seeking medical advice. I am just looking for advice about how to communicate my needs to my GF without coming across as an asshole. Comments from OP. She's been to a few different gynecologists who have prescribed a number of different medications. Lifestyle changes, such as antifungals and cutting down on sugary foods drinks. But the antifungals aren't working, and she has no intention of changing her diet. She's been to gynecologists who have tested her and concluded that she does not have BV, but rather a standard yeast infection. Not sure what she can do besides find an alternative to the IUD, which she is unwilling to do. Would you recommend that I just bite the bullet and tell her that her reaction is unreasonable? I don't want to come off as mansplaining her own body to her. She spends a lot of her time on TikTok, listening to women describe everything that could possibly go wrong with sex, plus pregnancy, plus childbirth, plus etc. I don't trust a lot of what she learns from TikTok, but I also don't know any better myself, so I can't really argue with her in a meaningful way. Before we started dating, she got a full STD panel and tested negative for everything. She was my first sexual partner, so I didn't get tested. But when the infections started happening, I got tested and everything was negative. She has used topical and oral antifungal medications prescribed by a couple different gynecologists. She also had me take an oral antifungal in case I was the source of the yeast infections. But she was sexually active for many years prior to having the IUD and never had any issues, so she thinks the IUD is the culprit. We often don't have penetrative sex. She fingers herself while I focus on other erogenous zones, and she gets discharged afterward, which makes her feel as though she can't even masturbate. More worryingly, she says that these yeast infections have made her realize that she does not care for sex and is very happy to spend the rest of her life sexless. I told her this would be a deal breaker for me, and she was shocked. Comment from a post. This describes so many of my interactions with my girlfriend, who is diagnosed with autism. I am not sure whether she has been diagnosed with BPD though. What really resonates with me about your post is the observation that there is really nothing that can be done to stop a catastrophic spiral once it starts. Any attempt to respond to it, whether by validating it or disputing it, only results in further argument. And you can't stay quiet either because then you get accused of not caring about their concerns. Update: I-28M discussed how my 26F girlfriend decided to end our sex life after nearly a year of dating. She cited health concerns, namely repeated painful yeast infections and a loss of libido due to hormonal birth control, as the reason for ending our sex life. I suggested to her that she see a doctor about both issues. She has seen a doctor about the yeast infections and gotten a powerful new course of antifungals. Hopefully she'll feel better in a few weeks. She doesn't want to do anything about her loss of libido though, because she doesn't think I inspire her to want to have sex. Last night, she told me that she doesn't find me all that attractive, which makes her less interested in sex than she was before. She also said that I'm not good at flirting and don't make her feel like wanting to have sex, whereas her exes would turn her on with flirting. Moreover, she feels that I have sex like a dad and make her feel like a wife rather than a girlfriend. I am devastated. She doesn't understand why I'm so upset and is terrified that I'm going to break up with her. She says she is happy with a sexless relationship and loves me so much, and loves how much I care for her, and loves all the things I do for her. She tried to initiate sex last night, and I was so pissed that I rejected her for the first time in our relationship. She burst into tears. She had a very active sex life for years before she met me. Even if she thinks it doesn't matter, it makes me feel very low to think that she felt more sexual attraction and interest for her exes, who treated her so poorly in her view. I understand that I have lots of room to improve on flirting and sex positions and whatnot, but wouldn't a partner who says she loves me so much want to help me with that, rather than give up on sex with me? Is that too much to expect from a woman who tells me all the time that she's looking forward to getting married to me? My therapist thinks that my girlfriend is assigning blame to me, so that she doesn't have to feel bad about her loss of libido. I recognize that I'm partially responsible, but I can't help but agree with my therapist too. Update: I broke up with her. I was at her place, and I started to pack my bag. She insisted that I leave immediately without packing my bag. I continued to pack my bag, and then she grabbed my right arm. She then started punching my right arm. She then grabbed my back, and I fell backward and hit my left arm on the edge of her bathtub. I wrestled free of her and got the hell out of her place. In another comment, reverse blame in RBPD Lovadones, he reveals why he broke up. Reverse blame. You know what pisses me off to no end? The ducking reverse blame. I did this toxic shit, but your response was just inexcusable. as if the shit they do is completely fine. It's okay that I spend hours berating you, but do you not like it? Jesus, could you be more horrible? I'm so angry I'm practically shaking. OP replies on the post. This is literally what happened before we broke up. My ex threw a massive tantrum over the fact that I didn't procure tickets for the Barbie movie in advance. She yelled at me and burst into tears. Later that day, I managed to snag some tickets and took her to the movie. She didn't like the seats because they were wheelchair companion seats, and she threw another tantrum, insisting that we go home. Once we got home, I yelled at her for being entitled and ungrateful and dumped her. She then assaulted me because I had scared her with my yelling, and she needed to defend herself. In our BPD Lovadones, he comments again on a post entitled Butler and Personal Assistant. My ex would literally call me her personal assistant. She would prefer it over boyfriend. I mean, it was super cute at times. I loved doing acts of service for her, until I realized that she would find things to complain about, no matter how much time, money, or energy I spent doing things for her. Further update on the breakup. Yes, I spoke to my ex. She and her roommate have concocted a different narrative. Because I was angry when I broke up with her, and because I was physically abused by a chronically angry father as a child, my ex was scared for her safety. She was worried that I have my abusive dad's blood. Out of fear, she demanded multiple times that I leave her house. I insisted on packing up my stuff first, which made me a trespasser. Then my ex was entitled to use force to remove me from the premises, which is why she assaulted me. The reality is that I needed 30 seconds to pack my stuff. I am a completely nonviolent person and would never hurt a soul. Victim of abuse though I may be. My ex is here in the US on a student visa. She's terrified that if I press charges against her, she'll be sent back to Latin America, and her entire life dream would evaporate. My ex, her friends, and her therapist now think that I am unstable and narcissistic. I, my friends, and my therapist think that she is unstable and has borderline personality disorder. Sounds like an impasse to me, but that's okay. It's not like I want to be with her anyway. Flaring is concluded as this relationship looks like it's over, as clarified in further comments from the OP over the last week. Comment: people need to leave abusive partners, so very glad OP left. I hope he finds a girlfriend who he can build a healthy relationship with. We have come to the end of our story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Tell us what you think about this story in the comments.